Hey traders, Chris Capri here, Second Skies Trading. Hope you're having a good day today and getting ready for the U.S. market open. So we're going to be going through the pre-market watch list, and we got a couple big movers to start off with, and so there's one of APTX. We're going to go over that, and then we're going to look at some trades that I think will be some pretty good swing trade setups. I think there's some good swing trade setups coming right now. I've taken profit on QQQ. I had a bear call spread on that one and pretty much check out for full profit. That one there, minus 20 cents. Morning to you, Stefano. So I'm going to be going over that. And let's see, morning to you, Michael, as well. Good to see you. So let's go over the watch list and let's just kind of get into it, basically. So big mover on the day is APTX. LOGI, Logitech is moving pretty good. Really good sales numbers coming out, but APTX is the big one, and that's because the company reported phase 2 clinical data evaluating their drug on PTSD, which probably is really useful right now because I know that, it's definitely been mental health has been an issue in the U.S. particularly, and I'm sure other countries as well. So just because of COVID lockdowns and everything like that, it's been stressing people out. So the drug that they're doing showed statistically significant, clinically meaningful results, and the company expects to initiate a pivotal study in 2021. So just around the quarter. So a really positive news catalyst on that right now. That's one of the better ones right now. It's also a good volume mover. It's 13.5 million shares and average daily volume is 246K. So you're talking almost, what is that? Like almost 100 times. It's like probably like 50 times or something like that. So that's pretty big jump in volume there. So let's take a look at the chart. Before we do though, I want to just check in with markets overall. Look at the major indices. GG, morning to you. So ES is up pre-market about 15 points. Yesterday was a big red day across the board for all indices. Europe started off green and has been turning more and more red as it's been going on. So Europe was really mixed, but mostly more green, and now it's turning red. And Asia was by and large green, but nothing huge. There's no 1.5%, 2% gains on any Asian indices. So there's definitely some pressure going on. And one of the ones that you want to be watching out for is QQQs. So when QQs, which is the ETF for the NASDAQ, and tech has been the big index lately. So when the market moved into this corrective structure, and just watching how the corrective structure is playing itself out, I had a feeling it was rolling over. So when it was right about here, I sold a bear call spread. And we announced it to all our trade members, hey, I sold bear call spread, which basically we sold the 299, I think, 299 and bought the 304. So we're expecting a neutral to bearish move on that. And that's pretty much what happened. And you can see shortly after, sold off, rejected at the weekly VWAP, impulsive selling, corrective pullback into the weekly VWAP again, and has rolled over again, and even found the RRL from yesterday, rolled into a pre-market and has been selling off. So I exited that yesterday pretty much for full profit. There was no point in it was expiring this Thursday, and there was no point in keeping it open anymore because there wasn't really a whole lot more profit for me to collect on the position if I'd held it to expiration. So I neutralized all the risk basically and closed it out for pretty much full profit on that one there. But the fact that Qs are rolling over is, tech has been the leader. So tech falling off is putting pressure on a lot of stocks and the stock market as a whole. And on top of it, the DOJ just announced that they are filing suit antitrust claims against Google. That's going to weigh on tech because if that gains any sort of leg or steam, that's going to push into other tech companies as well. You better believe that that's going to start putting pressure on Amazon. That's going to put pressure on Microsoft. It's going to put pressure on all the big tech companies, Facebook, and Twitter. There's issues going on with them for censoring certain media and things like that. So who knows if Biden ends up winning the election, he may, take his foot off the gas on those trials, but tech is going to be under pressure for a little bit as long as there's the potential for them to be facing lawsuits, and that's going to put pressure on. So QQQ's rolling over, and it's right at a major kind of support area right here. And so this was kind of a base of this corrective structure right around here. So if it loses If it loses 282.76, it gets to like say 282, 281, then it could roll all the way down to the bottom of this corrective structure. And that would be a massive unwinding for tech, and that will drag a lot of the markets lower. So keep an eye on this one here. I think there's still some good bearish plays on it, but we're at a major support level. If it ends up holding, it might be a pretty good day trade for, 3-point bounce. So something to watch out for. The key to kind of change some of that momentum is it's going to have a good close above the weekly VWAP. We haven't been above it since the 14th. It's now what, the 20th? Yeah, it's the 20th. So you're talking, it's going to need to clear and show some transitions in the price action context to do that. So that's getting into just the tech there of the QQQs. Morning to you, Chi-Chen, and Les Sharma. Good to you from Dover, UK. Good to see you, Les. Okay, so APTX, we talked about the positive news catalyst, and let's kind of get into the big one here. So was at 371, rocketed up after market, pulled a little back, and then rocketed up a little bit higher. So from 371 up to 791, that's a very big jump. That's almost like 100%. Maybe I think it is about 100%. So, and it did it on pretty good volume, but it has been fading since then. So it might have overextended its hand in aftermarket and pre-market. So I'm watching this 571 as a potential base area. I'd like to see how this acts around market open. When stocks tend to have a good rally, but then they start to fade, then it's either, hey, that move is done, all the momentum's done, or it's going to find a lower base and then try and take out the highs and make a new run. So when I look at where I think this is going to go, I've marked the pre-market highs here. I've marked the base here. And then we can look at this on the weekly here, just to give you an idea of where we are. So that was the pre-market highs right there. Actually, sorry, this is the pre-market highs. This is the base, which is just above this corrective structure here. And it's kind of like not far from current price. So if it were to rocket up, I mean, this has been stuck in this range between $2 and $5 for 2 years, basically, almost 2 years, all of 19 and all of 2020. And so to clear this giant weekly corrective structure, which I'll draw for you here, if it can do it on high volume and have a strong close to the week, then this thing could have room to run. It may be one of those things where the move is already done for the day. It may be one of those things where you get a really big run for the day and then it's done. Excuse me. But it also has the potential that if it can close outside of this range on high volume and maintain that through the rest of the week, then this thing could be, off for a pretty good run. Oftentimes when you see large weekly breaks like this, if they have really good results to follow up with this, then that could be, a really big run in the stock. So beyond 793, I don't see any resistance until 15. That's huge. That's potential $7 run, from the pre-market highs that this has potential for. So what I'm going to watch for is I want to see how this behaves at this kind of base around 565, right around market opens. I don't really feel like trading it right now because it's had quite a wild ride, and it's not like it's building consistent price action and just continual steady gains. You had a rip, fade, another rip, and pretty quick fade. So it's not the kind that I want to get in pre-market. I'd like to see how this thing opens up, and then we'll take a look at potentially, first 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I should have a good idea of whether I want to day trade this or not. I do have an alarm set that if it does break the pre-market highs, that I'm probably going to get long, depending upon what the structure looks like. But most likely I'm going to get long as long as everything looks good on volume, the price action looks good. If it rallies really sharp off the open, then I'm going to probably get long on a break, and I might even get long, before that. So potential play is watch 569. There is a deeper base of where this whole kind of corrective structure on the weekly chart, right around the $5 mark. So that's a potential option. Or I can just wait for a break on 8. If it gets to 8 and it looks pretty weak, volume's fading, time and sales is not ripping or anything like that, then I might look for potential fade on this one here with a tight stop above it. And if it breaks above it, then to get long. So that's how I'm looking to play it. Those are my trade ideas on what I think you should be playing on that. We've already gone over QQQ. Let's take a look at a couple that are have been moving pretty good lately, up or down. And Logitech real quick. That was a big one. They had a huge boost on their sales numbers, and their forward guidance going forward is much stronger than anticipated. And it's kind of not surprising. Logitech has been one of those hot stocks. I'll have to look. There was a really good report on the NASDAQ whale SoftBank on some of their option positions. And I'm pretty sure they had a decent option position on Logitech. I'll have to look at my notes on that one there. But since the COVID, you know, their prior highs was $49. They're at 80 now. They've just ripped. And part of the reason why they're doing well is, you know, there's a couple of reasons. Obviously, the NASDAQ whale helped, but with people working at home, people are needing more tech. Logitech specializes in, you know, a lot of work at home stuff, webcams, mouses, stuff that you need for a home-based office. So they're just getting a huge boon from this. And then on top of it, the millennial day traders that have come into the market from this COVID situation, you know, a lot of the Robinhood traders, they're very bullish on tech, particularly like this. So they're pretty heavily long Logitech. And so those three tailwinds have really helped the stock. And with that being said, you know, Logitech has been a great stock. I don't know how I missed this one. When COVID first came out, you know, granted it was a new thing. I've been trading for 20 years. I've seen two major like financial crises through the dot-com bust and the 2008 GFC. COVID was a different animal. I totally had the right call on shorting airlines. Like if you had shorted airlines, if you had shorted entertainment, restaurant industry, you would have made a boatload of cash. And we made a boatload of cash from that. Sasha, like, you know, our chief course instructor, my number one apprentice, you know, he just absolutely crushed it on the Boeing trade. But, you know, the thing about it is that there were other trades out there that I didn't anticipate. How long is this COVID going to go? Where's the money going to flow to? Are people going to be working from home? I didn't anticipate that then. And so this was definitely something that I missed. But Logitech has been a really, really strong stock. And unlike the QQQs, which if you look on the weekly, you know, they haven't recaptured their highs. Logitech has. So it's just immense strength in the stock right now. Anyways, looking at the pre-market, aftermarket, this is aftermarket's pretty fade. Numbers come out early morning, boom, huge adjustment in sales and then guidance going forward. So pretty strong move, and then it's kind of faded some of that, but this is not, it's not like aggressive selling. It's not like, you know, we've had a move, a fade, a move and fade, kind of like APTX, you know, move, fade, move, fade. This is, you know, Logitech has just kind of built and it's kind of held the majority of its gains, you know, from 80 to instant gap up to 90. That's huge. That's like what, 12, 15% roughly. That's about 12%. And now it's hovering at 93. So volume is starting to pick up the last few minutes. And at the weekly, we're at all-time highs. So you don't have any historical resistance that you have to worry about. You have to worry about, you know, potentially running into. Other than this weekly high, you don't have, or other than that, which was the prior high, here's where we are pre-market, you got nothing. So you got to look at round numbers, 95, 100, 105, 110. Those are all going to be major stopping points. But other than that, we don't have any other resistance. So the market could pull back to 81. If it does, I think the stock's going to get scooped up. That's the base or the resistance before the breakout. Right about there. So you can see the pressure, boom, big gap up. And so, you know, I'm going to kind of watch. Weekly VWAP is just trying to catch up, but it's so far behind because it's such a big gap. So in terms of how I'm going to play this, I'd like to see a recapture of VWAP, which is the goal line here. And I'd like to see strong volume coming on the open. The volume pre-market was not huge. Average daily volume is 577K. Right now we're at 333K pre-market. That's not a lot of huge. It's not huge institutional interest. There's not a lot of players that are just kind of coming in. You know, we're not even at 1 million volume. So it's pretty low. And so I feel like, okay, well, maybe it's not attracting a lot pre-market. Let's see what happens when the market opens. So I'd like to see a capture VWAP. Two bases that I'm going to watch is the gap open, which is around 90.58. It dips right to 90 and then it launched. So it literally opened, dipped to 90, round number, launched. That's a massive trade for a 5-minute candle there. $5 gain right on that. So I'm going to watch 92.45 and I'm going to watch 90.55 as potential pullback levels that I'd like to see the market rally off of, clear VWAP, and then I'll target the pre-market highs at 98 and then 100. If we break 100, then I'll go for 105, 110, go every $5 basically. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Logitech. Olajuwon Adebayo, hello to you. Good to see you. Okay, so I've gone over APTX, I've gone over LOGI, I've gone over QQQs. NEO, this is a stock that I think is starting to fade a little bit. You can kind of see a very similar pattern on the weekly. We have been trading NEO lately. We've been making some really good money on it, and we decided to sell the majority of our position yesterday. We felt like it was fading, and it has fading. So very early in the session yesterday, we took some profit. But you can see a breakout pattern here, and then you can see another breakout pattern here. And so it's just kind of stair-stepping breakout patterns, basically. The good thing is that if you miss the breakout, it's it's shown that it's going to fade a little bit. Like here, big breakout, it's going to fade a lot of that. And then it'll, here it did this big breakout and then fade. So if you miss this breakout, don't feel bad about it. You're going to get a chance for a fade on this one here, I think. Will it go back to the prior resistance? I don't know if it does. If it gets to 2021, excuse me, I'm a buyer. I'm definitely a buyer in NEO. I have a lot of alerts on this one here. My first pullback area, though, good pullback area, I think, is around 25.78. You got monthly VWAP in there. You have, looking at the 4-hour chart here, you can see 2 pullbacks right to this 25.68. So I think it's a pretty good pullback area, and I think it's going to start fading a little bit. It's this structure on the 1-hour. We were saying yesterday, I think it was yesterday. I think actually on the 16th we said it. But we also said it yesterday pretty early on. Hey, we think NEO's fading and it's going to start rolling over. Actually, it was when it did this. So it had this rip, and we felt like, okay, I think this is going to roll over a little bit. And so it's rolled over. You got impulsive selling, corrected pullback, and some decent selling to start off with. If it breaks 27.23, then I think you're going to see a fade down to 26 and 25.65. And then at that point, I think I'll be a decent buyer. Also, look at the volume. Good volume, rip higher. So good volume, rip higher, goes sideways, and then the next day. So, there's waning buying momentum that's showing itself in the volume. And so when you look at all that and plus the price action, I think we're going to see a pullback to 25.63. So if we get to there, then I'll be a short-term buyer. SPCE been building, but it's struggling a little bit. It's had a lot of bullish momentum the last few weeks. So I'm long SPCE. Right now, my average price is about $21.93. I have bought several times. I want to say it's around $21.90. I have to look. But it's had a great 4 weeks, bouncing off the 15 support. And now we are challenging this kind of resistance at 23.72, and then we got 25. So it's building the structure, but it has had some pullbacks. If you look at the 4-hour, the structure becomes a little bit more clear, and it's feeling more like it wants to break out. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you look at this channel and how it's been playing itself out, the bounce have been bought pretty aggressively. When it hits, it makes new highs, hits the top of the channel, it sells off, but the bounces keep getting bought aggressively. However, look at this. It's just kind of holding 2 days, right here. It did do a little bit of this here, and it may repeat this pattern, like it holds for 1-2 days and then it fades, and that's a possibility. If it does and it gets to the bottom of the channel, I'll be happy to buy it at 21.57. I'll add on to my current position. I'll be happy to. I'm a medium long-term bull on SPCE. So if it does do that, totally cool with that. And in some sense, I'd be even happier with it, because even though I have a pretty good share position right now, breaking out would be nice. Getting back here would be slightly under my current cost basis, so I could reduce my cost basis a little bit, or average price. And I think that this is going to continue to build higher on this one here. But for right now, you are seeing a little bit of pressure at the top. So if it can rally today strongly and continue to put pressure, then it looks like it's going to want to break out of this channel. And then once it does that, then I think there's a potential move all the way to 25. So that's one of the, that's, I think, space SPCE. I think it has really good medium long-term prospects. And I like the technical structure. It's just continuing to build. So very favorable on this one here. DKNG, my baby, long-term one here. This one has lost a fair amount of ground recently. And you can see that it had the first major reversal pattern. So you should be able to spot it. But let's get the, let's see if we can, let's go to the annotation tool on this one here. Okay, so left shoulder, this is a head and shoulders pattern. Here's the neckline. There's your neckline. Huge rally up, very strong impulsive selling. Look at this bounce off here, very weak. So the right shoulder is lower. You know, this is where the right shoulder is. It's lower than the left shoulder. That is, you know, not a good sign. If this bounce had made it up to the same height as here, that would have posed a little bit more favorability, but the bottom line is it's still a bearish reversal pattern. And the fact that I had a weak bounce off the 48.30, and when that happened, I was just like, yeah, I think DKNG is going lower. And it's just going lower, 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 lower. It is starting to slow down a little bit in terms of the selling. So let me clear some of this out. It's definitely starting to slow down a little bit in terms of the selling. And we're getting our first kind of sideways movement in a little bit, but for days it's just been boom, 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 boom. So in terms of where I'd want to add, I don't think I'd want to add until we get to about this 40, 70, 41 base. You know, it's a pretty good, it's where this big launch happened. It was also resistance here. I think I would add, I'd like to add at 40, 85, 41. And then I'll add one more at 35. I'm a long-term bull on DKNG. And while I made a lot of money on this, I'm not surprised that, you know, we're seeing a fair amount of selling in this here. You know, the stock was at the beginning of the year, $10. Yeah, it's a 600%, you know, it's up $50. It's a 500% return. That's amazing. That is an amazing return. So anybody who's been long the stock since the beginning of the year, they are certainly taking some profit. But the long-term prospects on DKNG, I think, are very, very favorable. You know, you think about it, sports betting and gambling is becoming more legal in more states in the US. The more states it has, the more market share this is going to take. They signed an exclusive deal with ESPN, not exclusive, it's them and Caesars Online Sportsbook to run their fantasy book and sports betting. Michael Jordan joined the board. He bought a stake in the company. They just got so many favorable things going for them. Granted, once football ends, you're going to see probably a dip in sports activity, but you know, that's all going to depend upon COVID and how it all plays out. I'm assuming COVID's going to resolve itself sometime next year. And when that happens, sports comes back online. This is going to catch a huge tailwind from that. So I'll be looking to add around 41, and then I'll add again around 35. And then I'll probably be done at that point because I already have a decent position on it. I got options going on it. I got shares on it. I got a lot going on it. Okay, so I got a question, Stefano, regarding DKNG. Should it break back above 45? Would you consider the short-term transition to higher highs as a chance to buy again? I'd like to see a little bit more stability. Breaking above 45, it really wouldn't be a massive, it would be like, okay, we have one, after such bearish price action, let's look at this on the 1 hour. You know, it's just a massive drop off. 64, almost 65 down to 42. That's huge. That is, what is that? A 33% drop? That's huge. Any funds that had this, they probably have been forced to unwind some of their positions. So when I look at this, breaking above 45, we have one transition in the current selling pressure since the 14th. That transition is right here. It's the first time it's like been able to just move sideways, not down. And if we were to break above 45, that would be an additional transition, but you got a lot of headwinds above. You're going to have resistance between, say, 48 and 47. You might have some at 46.53. So depending upon how it does it, there might be a decent like short-term day trade. There might be a scalping opportunity there or something like that. But I'd like to see more meat in the transitions and in the reversal before I feel like, okay, this ship is turning around. I'm not there yet, and I don't think 45 would totally convince me of it. I think it would help, and it may give me some short-term opportunities, but it wouldn't necessarily shift me from a medium-term and long-term perspective that this trend from 64.85, whatever, down to 43 is over. I need to see a little bit more meat on that. So yeah, I'd rather wait for a bigger dip or see greater distribution in the price action before, or greater transition in the price action before I would add on more shares to this. I already got a, pretty good size position on this. I don't want to add too much unless it's like a really, really good price for me. Maybe going back above 48.30 would be much more consistent. I would feel better about that. If it can get above, this is a very strong RRL. It was the neckline of this right here. So you have support here, you have resistance here, support here, support here. So if it was to get back above 48, 48.30, 48.50, 48.80, and it does it with strength, then I would feel better. If it just kind of meanders its way up here, that's not going to, that's not going to inspire me too much. But if it like holds here and just rips up, then I'm going to feel a little bit better about it. I'm guessing at this point, being the current price that we're at and the market's open, that we're going to see some dip buying opportunities. But yeah, I'm just not there yet. I'm not sold on the momentum turning itself around yet. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to switch to the live trading chat room for our stock trading course members. So I will see you there in just a couple of minutes. But you have the pre-market watch list. Keep an eye on APTX. Keep an eye on LOGI, which is looking strong. I might have to get in this very, very soon. So I'm going to switch over to the live chat room. Good luck trading today. I will see you guys. Watch out for a video on Friday for a top trade review, and I will see you then. Take care, everyone.